More now on Kim Jong-un's latest provocation. Yep, another missile launch. A Pentagon official confirming to Fox News that North Korea has yet again defied the international community, launching some sort of ballistic missile just hours ago. But the Pentagon hasn't exactly confirmed on what type of missile that was. We are told, though, that President Trump has been briefed on the test by the national security team. The missile reportedly traveled 435 miles, and if that's confirmed, it could mean a successful test for Kim Jong-un's missile program after a series of their recent failures. What does all this mean? Lieutenant General Richard Newton joins us, former Assistant Vice Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force. General, always good to see you. Welcome tonight.
Eric, good to be with you again.
What are your sources saying, and do you think this was indeed a successful test when they've had such failures recently?
Well, the sources I've tapped into are still trying to do some assessment on whether or not the test was successful or not. Those sources also indicate that presumably the test they had anticipated could have been of the NK-17, which is a medium intermediate range ballistic missile. This is the sixth test this year, at least on my count, for 2017. The most recent one was back on April 28th, if you recall, that it had to malfunction or exploded a few minutes after launch. But this is again another indication that the North Koreans are being very aggressive with their ballistic missile testing.
Yeah, earlier in the program, Gordon Chang, the analyst, of course, said he believes it was a message to the new South Korean president, Moon Jae-in, who is more liberal, who is reaching out to Pyongyang,
right,
who does not like the fact that we put the THAAD in South Korea, and that could be a change. Look at the type of reaction he gets. I mean, he doesn't get a welcome, hello, let's negotiate and open the door. He gets a missile.
Right, you've got a more liberal president elected in President Moon, and is now in office, and you know, certainly wants to engage North Korea, which is again something that's going to be vastly different than the last two presidential administrations in South Korea. It's not a very good welcome sign for the new president, particularly after we just declared operational the Theater High Altitude Aero Defense System, the THAAD, that we've put in place in South Korea, that is to defend South Korea and the region, or at least the local region there, of ballistic missile threats.
I know, in light of what happened tonight, I mean, what happens if they kick that THAAD out? Can they do it?
And are you referring to the South Koreans?
The South, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. You know, certainly that could be an option, I suppose. But the fact that we just went through all the effort to make it operational, the fact that you've got still very strong U.S.-South Korea relationships, particularly along the lines of national security, regardless if you've got a conservative or, quote, a liberal president, and now President Moon in South Korea. Also, what President Moon would be facing is you know, what messaging is that to China? He would be appearing to placate the Chinese, perhaps, if he then all of a sudden decided to take the THAAD system out of South Korea. And again, on the heels of this most recent test against the seventh test, I don't think that would be a good move.
Yeah, and also there's something else that's going on, and that's new exercises. We have 28,000 troops in South Korea, as you know.
Right.
But they've got joint U.S., Japan, and two European nations military exercises. Could that have factored into Kim Jong-un's thinking, that that's a message to us, as these usually are?
Well, he goes through these throes of provocations when there are U.S., South Korea, or U.S. other joint exercises going on down there. But let's be very clear. You know, the Supreme Leader knows nothing other than strength and power, and that's where I think it's critical that the United States, certainly with its allied relationships with South Korea and Japan and other allies and friends in the region, that we demonstrate that strength. We demonstrate capability. We've got a new national security leadership team with President Trump and his national security leaders, with Secretary Madison, Secretary Tillerson, and others. We need to make sure that we demonstrate this strong military capability, as well as the political will to rally the nation, both in the Congress and in across America, that we will continue to be strong. We will continue to protect U.S. national security interests wherever they may be around the globe, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly on the Korean Peninsula. I think that's very important.
Do you think the administration is doing that, successfully right now? I mean, then you got Kim Jong-un threatening a sea of fire, and he puts out these videos targeting blowing up Washington.
Well, there's with the Supreme Leader, with Kim, I mean, there are so many unknowns, if you will, pardon the expression, but you've got to be able to, again, put all your national security capabilities at the table. And it has to be regarding if it's diplomatic, if it's economic and financial, and certainly military. They all go hand in hand. We want the military card to be played last, however. But the military card can support U.S. national security interests by, again, showing a strength. For instance, putting the Carl Vinson Carey Task Force there as he did last month and so forth.
There was some dispute over that. It went down to, like, off Indonesia or something. But I mean, what should we do, finally? I mean, do you think the White House should react to this test? Certainly, it may be brought by the U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley to the Security Council on Monday as a potential protest. What is our step right now to show, as you say, to Kim Jong-un, stop?
Well, there are multiple steps. Number one, I think we need to make sure that we set expectations. If we have entertained the notion of getting to a negotiating or bargaining table, we have to set expectations that those have all failed, including UN resolutions. Okay, that's a kind of a glass is half empty approach to this. But should we decide to move forward with either negotiations or demonstrating U.S. Power in this area, we've got to make sure that we rally our friends and allies, that we are able to demonstrate capabilities that we have, such as bringing in the Carl Vinson and other capabilities. We conduct these joint exercises. We continue to follow up on those. And we make sure that the Supreme Leader understands that the U.S. does have military capability, but we also have the political will. We've got the U.S. National Security Team now in place, led by President Trump, who will demonstrate these capabilities and follow up. And I think again, if we do enter into negotiations, as I think could be a byproduct at some point, along with our efforts to date, that we, however, put certain conditions on the table. Number one, release American prisoners. Make sure that he also does not do any more provocative in terms of statements or military forces exercise and so forth, and that he withdraws from ballistic missile testing and nuclear weapon testing as well.
All right, General. Sorry, we're up against the clock. Can never do anything about that, but we thank you, of course, always for your insight tonight.
Thank you, Eric.
Of course.